UPSC is not about behatting its concepts or its syllabus. It's about the integrated learning of the syllabus included. By using this approach, learners are able to integrate their prior knowledge and experiences with the new information, which can facilitate the acquisition and the retention of the new knowledge. Our Baba's Gurukul Foundation is primarily based on this integrative learning, and to take you through this, we faculties have come together to explain how the issue climate change is dealt in the UPSC way.
It is said that when one finds the true guru, one conquers half the world. And I'm very proud to say that we at IASbaba have the best, I would rather say the most dedicated teachers and the most friendly mentors that you can come across in this UPSC journey. And we'll be there with you throughout your ups and downs, and we'll make sure that we'll give our 100% so that you sail in the right direction. And by the end of the classes, I would assure you that the teachers and the mentors here would make sure that you are the best version of yourself. And once you are the best version of yourself, I don't think anything can stop you from achieving your dream, right? So if that same zeal, same energy and same dedication is there in you, then come board the ship before the ship leaves the harbor. All the best and see you in the class.
Very good day to all of you. I'll take you through the ethical perspective of climate change in about 2 to 3 minutes at best. Now, everything in this world connects to everything else. That is the point that I'll try to make here. Now, climate change, very obviously, is about the environment. It is also about politics, because politicians have to make the laws regarding climate change. It is also about governance, because climate change policy making and policy implementation is with the civil servants. It's about economics, because there is a huge cost involved in climate change. It's about society, because people get affected. And finally, the ethical perspective. Now, many people will wonder how is climate change concerned with ethics. Before that, I think we need to understand what is ethics and what is climate change. Climate change, very, very obviously, is a long-term change in the climate, to put it in very, very simple words. Now, it might change for the better, it might change for the worse. Why we are worried about climate change is because we are worried it is going from bad to worse. And why is it going bad to worse? Mainly because of human activities. Fossil fuels, industry, transport, and so on and so forth. Which means that climate change, we are responsible primarily. Now, if we are responsible, it is our ethical duty to make sure that we do something about it. At least we don't damage the climate any further. And that is where environmental ethics comes in. Now, please understand what is ethics. Ethics is doing the right thing. Ethics involves people. How I interact with you, how I deal with you, how I expect you to deal with me, etc. is ethics. It's the idea of right and wrong. Environmental ethics says that ethics is not only about how I treat you and how you treat me, it is also about how we treat the environment. Only if we treat the environment well, we can expect the environment to treat us well in return. Meaning the give and take of ethics that we have among us, among each other. That same thing in environmental ethics is with the environment. Now, environment, I mean the non-human part of the environment. It's the air, it's the water, it's the animals, the birds, the plants, the trees, and so on and so forth. If we treat them well, environment will treat us well. And that, the last point I want to make here is the golden rule of ethics applies to environmental ethics. Why do I treat you well? I treat you well because it's the right thing to do. I also treat you well because I expect that in return you will treat me well. And that is the golden rule of ethics. The golden rule of ethics is a moral principle which denotes that you should treat others the way you want to be treated yourself. How I treat you, you will treat me accordingly. I treat you badly, you treat me badly. The same golden rule applies to how I treat the environment. In return, the environment will treat me back. The whole idea behind environmental ethics, it started in the 1960s sometime. The whole idea behind environmental ethics is that if we are responsible for damage, we should take care of the damage, and we can't expect the environment to treat us well if we do not treat it well. That's about it. All I want you to remember here is that something will connect to something. If you know the basics, you will be able to frame a very, very good answer. Now, if you just knew the golden rule of ethics, you would have known how to deal with this, that if we are responsible, we should undo the damage. If we treat the environment well, environment will treat us well. That's about it. Take care and thank you very much.
Hello everyone, welcome to IASbaba. I'm going to discuss about climate change from geography point of view, guys. Geographers are not the one who are going to look at the problem. We are also going to find solution to the problem, because all these problems are occurring in this world. Solution also has to be in this world. So when we talk about climate change, we are actually not talking about climate change, we are talking about increasing temperature. That is, we are talking about global warming. So when I am talking about global warming, I need to know what exactly is the problem. So if I say, I have an object which is at 100 degrees Celsius, I have similar object at 50 degrees Celsius, and if the surrounding temperature is 20 degrees Celsius. So what will happen? This hot object releases heat to the surrounding. How much will it release? The difference. That is 80 degrees Celsius will be released to the surroundings. Similarly, the 50 degree will also release heat to the surroundings. Now, if you see, I have written this as small wavelength. I have written this as longer wavelength. Guys, the heat when it is coming out, it is called as radiation, and the property of radiation is that hotter the object, shorter is the wavelength. Cooler the object, longer is the wavelength. Fine. Now what is the use of this? Let me consider two things: Earth and Sun. Right? So Sun is hotter compared to Earth. So whatever comes from the Sun is short wave, whereas whatever goes out of the Earth is long wave. Right? So now, what exactly is global warming, or what exactly is this greenhouse gas effect? When I say, you see, some gases like sun's rays, like ozone absorbs UV. Whereas if I take oxygen, if I take nitrogen, if I take clouds, if we take carbon dioxide, if we take greenhouse gases, so what is going to happen? Oxygen doesn't absorb sun's rays. Nitrogen doesn't absorb sun's rays. Clouds reflect sun's rays. Carbon dioxide doesn't absorb sun's rays. Greenhouse gases doesn't absorb sun's rays. Right? So the property of gases is either it absorbs the sun's rays, or it absorbs Earth's rays, or they are transparent to both. So ozone is absorbing sun's rays, whereas clouds is sending it back. Earth's rays is not absorbed by oxygen. Earth's rays is not absorbed by nitrogen. Earth's rays is reflected by the clouds. Earth's rays is absorbed by carbon dioxide. Earth's rays is absorbed by greenhouse gases. So if you see this particular part, right? So what is happening? Earth's rays, right? Earth's rays is absorbed by certain gases like carbon dioxide, methane and all. As they absorb, they send it back. They send it back, it will be trapped. So this will increase Earth's temperature. Right? So what is happening? It is these greenhouse gases which are trapping the Earth's heat. It is allowing sun's rays, but it is trapping Earth's heat. What should I do? Remove these from the atmosphere. Why? These are man-made. So my solution is to reduce this in the atmosphere. How to reduce this in the atmosphere? Reduce carbon dioxide, reduce greenhouse gases, stop burning petrol, stop burning coal. Rather than that, we can go for solar energy. With solar energy, run vehicles. With wind energy, run vehicles. So electric vehicles with renewable energy, green hydrogen. These are all the solutions to reduce these greenhouse gases, right? So guys, if we can try to reduce that from geography point of view, the solution is clear. But for this, you need political mindset and willingness from the people. Thank you guys.
So dear students, if your environment and history and geography listed out how the climate change happened to become, what are the different causes of climate change, at some point we have to look out for the solutions, right? And it is in this particular context that we come across science and technology. The entire world that we see around us revolves on the innovations created by science and technology. So why not, to solve the biggest problem of our century, which is climate change, we take the help of science and technology. I'll give you a very small example over here. For example, right now, one of the premier causes of climate change is the excessive amounts of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Now, science and technology comes up with the innovation like, why can we just not trap the entire carbon dioxide and store it so that it will not be a problem for the entire Earth? It's such a simple, beautiful solution. Now, imagine the innovation that goes into it. And thus, we have an entire category of technologies called as carbon capture and storage facilities. Now, using this, carbon is in several forms captured and stored in the form of carbon sinks. And better yet, science and technology came with a better innovation where they said, let's use the geoengineering technologies and try to somehow manipulate the entire climate change into a way where it is not harmful for humans. Look at the beauty of it. You've taken something as simple as an innovation, worked upon it, created a solution, so much so that your problem of climate change can be tackled. And in the long run, when the problem of climate change gets tackled, the idea is we are moving towards the path of sustainability. In fact, if I tell you, when the problem of climate change gets solved, it becomes so easy for us to tackle any of these sustainable development goals that are in front of us. If you look at the hunger, if you look at the poverty, if you look at the different health systems, each of these things can be solved when climate change is sorted. So think about it. Science and technology has the power to produce, select, adapt, and disseminate information. And that information can be used to solve problems like climate change. And that climate change solving the problems could finally lead to a lot of benefits. One of the chief benefits that a country could have if climate change like problems are solved is your economic benefits. And trust me, in today's world, these benefits are the most crucial to judge the development of a country. So now let's go figure out, how does climate change actually aid, or the solutions of climate change actually aid in the economy of a country?
Hello everyone, I am Srinath, your polity faculty. In this short video, we will see how the topic related to climate change has an effect on the polity as a subject, and how the climate change treaties, resolutions or bills shall be passed by the Union Legislature. So under the Schedule 7 of the Indian Constitution, we have division of powers between Union, State and concurrent list. So under the Union list, under entry 14, it deals with the treaties, agreements with foreign countries and implementing those treaties, agreements and conventions with the foreign countries. So under the Article 246 of the Indian Constitution, the Parliament has the power on all the matters given in the Union list. Thus, the Parliament shall decide on how it shall ratify the treaties, the resolutions or the agreements with the foreign country. So when it comes to your climate change, there are several conventions and several protocols of international order which have taken place till date. So the Parliament has given the power to the Union Executive to ratify those without even the ratification by the Parliament. So even those things which involve an entry in the state list. But when it comes to an treaty or an agreement with a foreign country or an international organization, the state shall have no role. So the Union Executive itself through a resolution shall pass it. But there are some treaties or conventions or resolutions, if it requires a bill to be introduced in the Parliament and an act to be made, then that particular bill shall be introduced in the Parliament, passed by the simple majority at the Lok Sabha and simple majority at the Rajya Sabha. Then it goes to the assent of the President, and once the President assents, and if those things are giving effect to any international treaties or any international conventions or any international resolutions, then even if it has to be implemented by the state, but it does not require any ratification or passage by the state, and automatically with the passage by the Parliament, it shall be implemented even at the state level. Okay, thank you.
Hello everyone, we are going to talk about the history of climate change. Okay, so in the history of climate change, first we need to talk about the early history of climate change. Okay, so since the formation of the earth, okay, so we have the evidences of ice ages and warmer ages. Now what were these ice ages and warmer ages? Okay, they are nothing but there are simple variations in the climate of the earth. Okay, and these climatic variations on earth used to happen due to some kind of natural causes. And what was the natural cause that caused this climate change on earth? That one particular natural cause is that one, that is variation in the earth's orbit. Okay, when the variation in the earth's orbit happens, and that ultimately affected the amount of solar energy the planet received. On the base of the amount of solar energy that planet was receiving, the earth was experiencing alternate ice ages as well as warmer ages. But the present climate change, okay, so the present climate change what we have been experiencing, however, they were due to different factors. Now which factors cause the present climate change that is happening? And that is due to human activities, are also called as anthropogenic activities. But which human activities have caused? Which human activities have caused the present ongoing climate change? And that is industrial activities. They are called as something called as industrial revolution, which began in the Western world since the mid 18th century, that is from 1750s, and in the early beginning of the 19th century. Okay, so that industrial revolution still going on. Okay, that is the first beginning of the industrial revolution, and some historians as well as some scientists consider it is a very watershed moment in the Earth's history. The reason is it is considered as watershed, and first and foremost we are talking about what is watershed. Watershed is some kind of a turning point in the Earth's history, because the events that was happening before 1750s and they were having some kind of mild effect on the Earth's climate. Okay, but the events after 1750, that is the industrial activities which have started to grow, they were having a significant impact on the Earth's climate. Okay, what are the significant event? Okay, the significant event is the present climate change which is going on. But how this industrial revolution has caused the climate change? Because the industrial revolution which began in 1750s and in the early 19th century, it was based on burning of fossil fuels. We know the burning of fossil fuels adds what? Adds CO2, that is carbon dioxide, and other greenhouse gases to the Earth's atmosphere. So this Earth's atmosphere observing all of these gases for over 2 centuries, and since then the Earth's ability, there's atmosphere ability to trap the heat has been increasing. Okay, and the trapping of heat has been increased, and that is the reason presently we are experiencing more warmer climate. Okay, that is not just warmer climate itself, that is the entire earth, land, oceans has been warming at a very, very rapid pace. Okay, so what is the impact of this one particular event? That event is called as, that is industrial revolution. So because of industrial revolution, the Earth's climate has been altered to great extent, and that is the reason it promoted the scientists to add another geological epoch. Okay, what is that geological epoch means? There is a different time variations. Okay, the Earth's history since its formation has been divided into so many eons, ages as well as epochs, and one such epoch has been proposed. It is not yet been implemented, and that
epoch is called as Anthropocene epoch to the Earth's history. So once it gets added, Anthropocene epoch, we will see what kind of changes that has been happened to the Earth's climate due to human intervention, that is because of anthropogenic activities. So that is one of the significant impact of Industrial Revolution as an event on the Earth's climate. Thank you.
With regarding to climate change, Mahatma Gandhiji said that Earth has enough to meet everybody's need, but not everybody's greed. This quote is very apt even today with regarding to climate change and the economic aspects related to it. Human beings, because of their greed, has overutilized and overused the resources provided by Mother Earth so much that we have destroyed the carrying capacity of Mother Earth. This will have, or this is already having a major impact on the financial stability of the globe, of the whole world. Because one thing that is usually neglected by politicians, policymakers, and even common people is the economic impact of climate change. Because, see, according to a report of IMF, the global warming and climate change can reduce world GDP or global output by 7% by 2100. And according to a report by World Economic Forum, the GDPs of the countries, various countries, are going to reduce drastically. See, if the temperature rises up to 2 degrees Celsius, that is within the Paris Agreement limit, then also the world GDP will reduce by 4.2%, right? And if the temperature increases more than 3.2 degrees Celsius, then the global GDP will reduce or contract by 18.1%. Huge contraction, isn't it? And look at the Asia. If the temperature, rise of temperature is up to 2 degrees Celsius, then the Asian GDP will reduce by 5.5%. And if the temperature increases to 3.2 degrees Celsius, then the Asian GDP will reduce by 26.5 degrees Celsius. See, this is a huge impact, economic impact on the global output, right? And or the GDPs of the countries. Now, why will climate change has this much of economic impact? Because see, global climate change is going to have impact on a lot of aspects, such as one of the major impact that climate change is going to have is on agriculture and food supply. See, agriculture is an area, is a sector which is more susceptible to climate change, right? Because see, when climate change happens, it leads to extreme weathers such as very heat weather or very cold weather, extreme rainfall, untimely rainfall, or drought, famine, etc. Right? Or rise in the sea level. That's what nothing but global climate change and global warming, isn't it? So these aspects are going to have a direct impact on agriculture and food supply. Because when the temperature varies too much, when there is weather extremes, right? Of course, the crop yields are going to come down. The cropping patterns are going to change. The crop productivity is going to change, etc., and which will reduce the agricultural productivity and food supply drastically. This will gonna have a big economic impact. If you have to see an example of India, climate crisis has cost India 5 million hectares of crop in 2021 alone, right? So this is just in India, right? And the other reasons why global climate change is going to have economic impact is the impact of climate change on poverty, labor, and migration. See, climate change is going to push more and more people towards poverty because extreme weather phenomena will reduce labor productivity, right? It will reduce availability of jobs. It will reduce availability of basic facilities. So according to the report of World Bank, 132 million people will be pushed to extreme poverty by 2030 because of extreme weather phenomena, right? That is the impact of climate change. Not only that, right? Extreme climate changes will reduce the labor productivity, and according to the various reports, right, reduction in labor productivity will lead to a loss of $160 billion in wages, because people will not be able to work as much if the weather conditions are extreme, right? So per year 2 billion labor hours will be lost, and by 2090 it will add up to $160 billion, right? And see, also, climate change will push people towards migration. People will leave one of few areas and move towards other areas, which is going to have huge socio-economic impact. If you have to see, in 2018 alone, 7 million Indians were either displaced or have migrated due to climate-induced distress. So this is another major impact on the labor productivity, etc., poverty, etc., right? And climate change is going to have impact on health and other aspects also. See, climate change and global warming have health related issues, and these health related issues have direct link with economy, right? Because see, climate change such as extreme heat waves or cold waves, extreme rainfall or drought, right, or increase in the temperature, right, this will lead to major health causes, health issues, right? For example, increase in the heat and rainfall will lead to vector-borne diseases like malaria, Zika, etc., right? And extreme rainfalls, right, floods, etc., are going to have major, health related issues, right? And also, pollution and related aspects are going to have health related issues, right? See, according to the report of World Health Organization, right, by 2030, every year 250,000 people are going to die because of climate change issues, right? Additional 250,000 people are going to die because of diseases caused by climate change, heat waves, etc. And nearly 7 million people, additional 7 million people will die by 2030 because of air pollution, right? And these deaths caused due to climate change and related aspects, if we have to put an economic value to it, it will amount to $140 billion per year, right? So see, the annual losses due to these deaths, additional deaths caused due to climate change is $140 billion, right? So this shows the huge economic impact of climate change. See, not only this, the other related aspects like loss in biodiversity, loss in ecosystems, etc., if we add, it will cumulatively add up to trillions of dollars. See, loss of forests, loss of wetlands, loss of mangroves, loss of coral reefs, right? If we put an economic value to it, it will be in trillions of dollars, right? And see, if you have to see some of the things, right, according to the Green Watch report, India is the 5th most affected country by climate change in the world. And according to the World Risk Index, India is the 4th at-risk country in South Asia, right? So it is very necessary that we wake up from our slumber and take actions regarding climate change for the economic sake, for our economic sake also. See, and another very scary aspect is, the climate change and its impact will be more on poorer section of the country, of the society, and poorer countries, less developed and developing countries. Hence, it is very necessary that government gives importance to, green growth. And thankfully, the budget of 2023-24 has a special, importance given to green growth.
Hello everyone. Climate change being very, very important topic for your prelims as well as mains, it is therefore important that we should do it very holistically. But before understanding what is climate change, let us understand what is the difference between the weather and the climate. Weather is basically the short-term state of the atmosphere. On the other hand, climate is a long-term state. So when we're talking about the climate change, in the words of the United Nations, this long-term shift in the weather or the temperature pattern is what is the climate change. For example, declining snowfall, increased precipitation, or increased summer temperature, early arrival of the spring. The climate change earlier was because of the natural reason, but these days, human-induced factors have been the major drivers. Climate change have got multi-dimensional impact, especially the health impact or the submergence of the coastal areas, ocean acidifications, the wild forest fires, declining agriculture productivities, so on and so forth. It is for this reason that we should understand what is the various reasons of the climate change. How did climate change came into emergence? It is basically because of the industrial revolution that the global temperature have been on rise, and this is basically of the various greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, methane, sulfur dioxide, nitrous oxide, etc. And the various sectors contributing to these change is the power sectors, the heavy industries like